maybe a couple of days.
Not quite sure yet. We've got John in Georgia. You're on with Lloyd and Matt.
Hey, Matt. Lloyd, how y'all doing, man?
Not bad.
Not bad.
Hey, Lloyd, I called Talk Heathen Audio, and you didn't give me a hard time. I think this will not be a little different.
Well, I'm just getting started, so don't push me.
Okay.
Well, it said here the call screener's got a note saying you want to know why atheists characterize faith negatively and that we all have faith.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just get right to it. How would you define faith, Matt?
Faith is the excuse people give for believing something when they don't have a good reason.
Okay, I appreciate that, but you don't think you have faith?
Okay, so here's my thing with faith. Faith gets you to absolutely any religious conclusion. If you're going to base your beliefs on faith, why would you possibly have a justification for choosing one religion over another? This is the thing that irritates me about the excuse that you often hear from Jehovah's Witnesses when you explain to them why the beliefs are absurd, why the beliefs don't work. It will all boil down to, oh, well, we just have to have faith. Well, if you just have to have faith, why are you a Jehovah's Witness? Why aren't you a Mormon? Why don't you believe that Joseph Smith found some golden plates and then interpreted them into a book and then conveniently lost them? You may as well be any religion. Just pick one. Pick one that you like. That's not how we get to meaningful truth conclusions.
Yeah, so when you asked me to define faith, I gave you the definition that I tend to use. I realize there are others. I've done debates on faith before. And what a lot of theists will say is, some of them will go to like Hebrews 11:1, but others would just, their view of faith is, I believe something in the absence of absolute certainty, and therefore we all have faith. Like you have faith that this chair will hold you, Matt. You're sitting in a chair. You have faith that the chair will hold you up, and my answer is no. I have a reasonable confidence that the chair will hold me up based on evidence. I'm not absolutely certain that this chair will hold me up. I'm not sitting down saying, ooh, I have faith that there is a chair. I can see it, I can investigate it, and everything else. And so, by and large, when we're talking about faith, no matter how people define it, what they often mean is they use faith as the reason for their belief because they don't have a good reason. Because for anything else, if you ask somebody, why do you believe this? They give a reason. And it's not limited merely to religious people. There are people I've debated in the secular community, and you ask them question A and you get an answer. Question B, you get an answer. Question C, you get an answer. And then question D, I just kind of have faith. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have presuppositions. I do. I have to presuppose logic and reason. I have to presuppose that I'm sharing a reality with other people because it's something that is unfalsifiable. But apart from that, when people appeal to faith as a reason for believing something about reality, it just means they don't have a good reason.
Well, number one, I do see where I live at. When you said if you ask people why do you believe, they do not have a good reason. So I know what you're talking about there, and I agree with you. But I would like to go back to the chair analogy, if I could.
Okay.
And maybe I would like to give another one, and I hope it doesn't get laughs and YouTube don't go crazy. But and I'm not
I wouldn't place money on that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I'm not going to use the way comfort one. It's going to sound like it. I think, Lloyd, you have kids.
Yeah.
So are you married?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you with your wife 24/7?
No.
No. So there are times when your wife is not with you. So how
and
do
now,
you know
as we speak, she isn't with me.
Oh, okay. So how do you know she's not cheating on you? You don't, correct?
You don't.
You don't know that she's not cheating on you.
So he's not absolutely certain that his wife isn't cheating on him. But did you ask him? The right question to ask is, Lloyd, do you think your wife is cheating on you right now?
I have absolutely no reason to conclude that.
Yeah. He's not saying he's absolutely certain she didn't. He's not saying I believe she's not. It's that is absurd because I have nothing that would convince me that is going on. You would need to present evidence that she is cheating in order for me to believe it. and he has a track record with his wife.
Exactly.
So he has a reasonable expectation based on data from the past. That is not, you can call that faith all day long, but it's not the same as the faith people use to when they're talking about religion, because you don't have any data.
John.
No, but
John,
that's everyday faith, though, isn't it?
As when you called in for Talk Heathen, I'm interested in answering your question as efficiently as possible. And in the show notes, your screening call was characterized as you saying, we all have faith, you do too. Are you saying that atheists have faith?
Yes, sir, I am. I mean,
in what?
I think, well, especially if you have kids, we all might say, I have faith in you. Just a simple, silly statement like that.
Let me ask you this. Let's say we lined up 10 people, and all of them had faith by your definition.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all on equal footing? Does the thing that I believe on faith, is that just as justified as what Lloyd believes on faith, and is that just as justified as the next one? Or is every application of faith equivalent?
Oh, no, sir, no, sir.
Cool. Then it doesn't matter if we all have faith. What matters is the specific type of faith that we're talking about. And when we ask people to tell us what they believe and why, when they say, I just have faith, they are refusing to give a good reason. If you ask, do you think your wife is cheating on you, or do you think that Cher will support you? We give a reason. And if you want to call it faith all day long, now you're just playing word games. And this is an example of what's called the tu quoque fallacy. So do you. And so for years, religious people have been like, oh, you just got faith. You just got faith. And faith's garbage. And then you need to make up an argument that says, well, you have faith too, but now you've defeated your own argument because you just acknowledge that whatever it is that I may or may not have faith in, it's not equivalent to the faith that religious people are appealing to. So if they're not equivalent, then it's irrelevant. You might as well have said, well, you eat dinner too.
I think I see what you're talking about, and I would concede that when you ask the normal people about why they believe in God, not only do they not have a reason, they have a very sad non-reason. So I think,
thank you for answering your own question. You've just called it a non-reason.
Do you have a good reason?
Well, my reason for believing in God, and it's kind of bigger than believing in God, because I don't think my reason gets you to the Bible. Basically, I just think there's a creator to all of this. Now, that does not get you to the Bible. I understand that.
Well, it doesn't get you anywhere. You just said, I think there's a creator to all this. And what that's what you believe. We're asking why you believe it. Why do you believe there's a creator?
And you said, I hope, correct me if I've misinterpreted you, did you just say that faith is a non-reason?
No. I said when you ask the normal people, they will give you non-reason. And like Matt said, they will say that's their faith, but I'm saying, no, that's not faith.
Okay. So what good reason do you have for believing there's a creator?
Yeah, so thank you for asking me. Well, of course, the design, I see design everywhere.
No, you see the appearance of design. Design needs to be demonstrated, not just observed and inferred. Because
I wouldn't say I understand.
Well, isn't it possible, John? Isn't it possible for you that you could look at something and say clearly that was designed, and then find out later you were wrong and it wasn't designed?
I would say it's possible, but probable when the thing I'm looking at has a lot of qualities of design. Probably not plausible.
What are the qualities of design? How do we recognize design, John?
Well, every example we give, Matt, and I don't want to make you mad.
You couldn't possibly make me mad because I can hang up and go on to somebody else.
He's had his lollipops. It's fine.
I've got my here. I'll put it in and shut up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, every example we can give of something, I'll put it like this: every example that evolutionists, Darwinian evolutionists give of the Darwinian evolution comes with a design mechanism. For example, if you say cars evolve over time, yeah, but cars had a designer. So
okay,
that does not make sense.
I hate to do this, John. I got to stop you because You said something about every example that people would give for Darwinian evolution has elements of design. That's simply not true. Design implies an intention, and that's the exact opposite of evolution. But when you started to give an example, you talked about the evolution of cars, which is not biological evolution.
Well, I understand it, but that's the example that I hear anyway. And maybe you're right. Maybe I have just not hard, better example. But maybe Aaron Noir was given the example of, I don't know if it was the cars or something, but.
Well, I think Lloyd and I would both agree. I would think Lloyd and I would both agree that cars are designed. Do you know why we know cars are designed? Why we were convinced of that?
Because we've saw it and we've done it ourselves.
Yeah, we can investigate and find out who designed it. And every example of a car has a history that we can trace back to a human mind that designed it, as far as we know. And we have no examples of cars coming into being or altering on their own into new models of cars. So the car process isn't evolution. It is changes being made by people. That's fundamentally different from biological evolution, which is a self-replicating gene and a process of reproduction that is unguided, and it's natural selection that acts upon it to say you survive and pass on and you don't.
John, I have a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not very confident and 10 being extremely confident, how confident are you that you actually understand fully how evolution works?
Oh, that's a great question, and I don't understand it fully. I have a lot of questions. I would put it at maybe a 5.
Okay, well, that being the case, would it not be prudent to hear what the other side is, hear what scientists are saying? Because let's face it, scientists have devoted their lives and careers to studying this field of science. I'm assuming there are no other fields of science that you take issue with, other than just this specific field that happens to contradict belief in God. So if I were in your shoes, I would want to fully understand what the claims being made by scientists are and how they have reached this conclusion about evolution before I started kind of saying, well, clearly it's nonsense. I'm not saying that that's how you're phrasing it. I'm saying that, there seems to be a process here that you're maybe skipping.
Oh, absolutely. You're correct. We should all know as much as we can about the other side, so I agree. Yes.
And a good example, like comparatively speaking, how much do you know about the germ theory of disease?
I would put that as a 0.
Yeah, and yet you go to a doctor, right?
Yes.
And the doctors will prescribe medicine for you, and I'm assuming that you will take the doctor's advice, maybe get a second opinion, but follow those people that are prescribing medication to treat illness.
Yes.
Well, once upon a time, if we had the Atheist Experience 1,500 years ago and people were able to call in, they would be calling in to explain the demon model of disease and that illnesses are caused by God and demons, their influence on all of this. And until we had the germ theory of disease, we wouldn't have had a really good response to it. And so they would be calling in and saying, look, clearly when Matt got the vapors, or when, he had this dissociative thing, that's a demon in there. We need to cast that out. We need to have an exorcism. We need to do all of these things. Yet I don't get those calls ever. All I get calls about within the realm of science, pretty much, is evolution. And it's because fundamentally people are starting to realize, or have been taught, they don't fully grasp it, but they realize that if, in fact, the diversity of life is explained by purely mechanical, chemical processes, then there's no need for a God. And this is terrifying. It's every time we shut the door on something that God supposedly did or could do, religion freaks the fuck out and decides, hey, well, now there's a new gap here. I need to find a new gap to stick my God in because I desperately need to cling to this. And every single time we've learned more about how things work, we've gotten further and further away from supernatural claims and gods. Now, that's something we all know, And that's an important trend. It doesn't mean there isn't a God. It doesn't mean that we won't ever find one. It doesn't mean that evolution is, the evolution by natural selection is necessarily the absolute truth or anything else. But you have to weigh all of that and say, hang on, I don't understand germ theory of disease, but I'll take my doctor's advice. And I understand evolution just a little bit better than that. But there are people who understand this way better than me, and they're not reaching the same conclusions I am. Maybe I should, as Lloyd suggested, go study what the experts are actually saying and not just go, gosh, it really feels like there's design and a creator. Because it may be that while you are reaching that conclusion, you are fundamentally unqualified to reach that conclusion and just unaware of it.
Oh, I would agree with that, Matt, but I think what you just said would be a perfect example for me. The germ theory is correct, but the bacteria that's in us making us sick stays bacteria. I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times macroevolution does not prove macro. Macro.
I'm gonna let you go, John, because I've had a long day, and you just ignored everything I said and tried to flip it on its head all in about 10 seconds. There's no macroevolution and microevolution are distinctions that are made by creationists. Evolution doesn't discriminate. It operates at the genetic
what you've
level.
done is, rather than listening to what Matt said and accepting his argument or answering his argument, you've just switched on to a new argument without really. So if when Matt gives you an explanation, you just ignore it and move on to something else, then there isn't really any point in having a conversation, is there?
Well, I'm sorry that we got here, but thank y'all for taking my call.
Sure.